Some trucks earn respect out here. Some trucks earn stories. And then there's a special group of trucks that earn something else entirely. Pure, united hatred. From the drivers who had to live in them, the fleets that had to pay for them, and the mechanics who still flinch when you say their names. I've been around trucks since the 70s, and I either drove these myself or I sat across from men at truck stop counters who did. Today we're counting down the 10 most hated semi-trucks in American history. And I'll warn you now, if you own number 1, you have my sympathy. Let's get into it. Number 10, the GMC Crackerbox. We start way back, because hating your truck is not a modern invention. The GMC Crackerbox, officially the D-Series cabover from the 60s, but nobody ever called it that. It got its nickname from the shape, a square little box on wheels, and from how it treated you. The cab was so tight your left shoulder rode the door, and your right elbow rode the doghouse. And that doghouse, the engine cover between the seats, got hot enough to fry breakfast on. The ride was stiff, the steering was nervous, and with that short wheelbase, hitting a pothole felt like the truck was trying to buck you out of the seat. Guys drove them because they had to, not because they wanted to. That's the definition of this whole list. Number 9, the White Road Commander. In the 70s, white was everywhere. Big fleets loved buying the Road Commander because it was cheap to buy. Drivers hated getting assigned one because it was cheap to build. The cab creaked and rattled from day one. Things came loose that shouldn't come loose, and by the time a Road Commander had a few winters of salt on it, it sounded like a hardware store falling down a staircase. It wasn't dangerous. It wasn't even slow. It just wore you down, one rattle at a time. Fleet-spec misery. Remember that phrase, because it comes back later on this list. Number 8, the Peterbilt 387. Now this one hurts, because it says Peterbilt on the hood. The 387 was Peterbilt chasing aerodynamics in the late 90s, and drivers took one look at that rounded plastic nose and never forgave it. A Peterbilt is supposed to be long, square, and covered in chrome. This looked like somebody left a real Peterbilt out in the sun. But it wasn't just the looks. The cab layout was awkward. Mechanics complained about electrical gremlins and access points, and resale dropped like a stone. Even the most loyal Peterbilt men would quietly admit, that one wasn't our best work. Number 7. The Freightliner Columbia, fleet-spec. Here's where I bring back that phrase, fleet-spec misery. The Columbia wasn't a bad truck mechanically. It ran. It got decent fuel mileage. The fleets loved it, but the stripped-down fleet versions were built to a price, and you felt every dollar they saved. Plastic panels that buzzed, doors that whistled at highway speed, a dash that rattled like a toolbox in a tornado. Drivers used to say the Columbia added 10,000 imaginary miles to your bones every year. It didn't break your bank, it broke your spirit. If you ever got stuck driving a company Columbia, do me a favor, hit subscribe, because the rest of this list is going to feel like therapy. Number 6, the Kenworth T2000. Kenworth builds legends. The W900, the K100, and then in the late 90s, Kenworth built the T2000. It was supposed to be the truck of the future. Aerodynamic, modern, clever. Instead, drivers got a cab that never quite sealed right. Drafty doors, cold air leaks in winter, rattles on every seam. Mechanics hated working on it, because half the layout felt like it was designed by someone who never held a wrench. It ran fine. That's the frustrating part. Everything around the running is what drove people crazy. A rare miss from a brand that almost never misses. Number 5, the Sterling A-Line. The Sterling was what happened when Daimler bought Ford's heavy truck line and kept it going under a new name. Truckers figured out fast that it was the budget option, and the truck never let them forget it. Cheap interior, standard equipment rattles, and electrical problems included at no extra charge. Then in 2009, the whole Sterling brand got shut down, and finding parts became a treasure hunt. Some trucks earn a cult following. The Sterling earned jokes. Number 4, the Mack ASET era. Mack, the Bulldog, toughest name in American trucking, which is exactly why the mid-2000s ASET engine era hurt so much. Those early emissions engines were unpredictable in a way that felt personal, running perfect 1 minute, then losing power like somebody pulled a plug. Turbo problems, black smoke, misfires, random derates. Like the engine woke up every morning and decided how it was going to disappoint you that day. The truck itself was fine. The CH and CX were solid Macks. But an engine can drag a whole truck onto this list, and that's a lesson that's about to get much, much worse. Number 3, the Volvo VN, early emissions era. When the 2007 emissions rules hit, every manufacturer struggled. Volvo's early EGR and DPF setup struggled loudest. Regions that never ended, plugged filters, EGR coolers failing, Check engine lights lit up like a Christmas parade. The cab was comfortable. Volvo always got that right. But comfort doesn't mean much when you're sitting comfortable in a dealership waiting room for the third week that month. Modern Volvos are good trucks, but the drivers who lived through those early emissions years still haven't fully forgiven them. Number 2. The Cat CT660. When Caterpillar announced they were building their own highway truck, drivers got excited. Cat engines pulled half this country for decades. A whole Cat truck. Sign us up. Then the CT660 showed up, and underneath, it was a Navistar truck wearing a cat costume, with engines based on the most cursed power plant of the era, which you'll meet at number 1. The toughness people expected never came. Sales crawled, complaints piled up, and by 2016, Cat quietly walked out of the truck business entirely. The most hated trucks aren't always the worst ones. Sometimes they're the biggest broken promises. Number 1. The International ProStar MaxxForce era. You knew it was coming. If there is one truck that united every driver, every fleet manager, and every mechanic in America in pure hatred, it's the International ProStar with the MaxxForce engine. The cab was fine. The looks were fine. The engine was a disaster with a warranty. International bet everything on an EGR-only emissions strategy. No DEF fluid, and lost. EGR coolers failed. Sensors quit. Regions went on personal vendettas. Breakdowns came around more often than oil changes. Fleets lost millions. Lawsuits piled up for years. Owners repowered these trucks with Cummins engines like they were performing an exorcism. And even the good ProStars, and there were some, got dragged down by the reputation. To this day, you can stand in any truck stop in America, say the word MaxxForce out loud, and watch 3 old mechanics turn around slowly like you just summoned them. That's the list. The rattle traps, the broken promises, and the engines that turned grown men into philosophers. Now, I know some of you drove these trucks. Maybe you even loved one of them. Nothing starts a better argument at a truck stop counter than a list like this. So drop it in the comments. Which truck did I get wrong, and which one did I miss? The worse your story, the better. And if you like hearing the ugly side of trucking history as much as the chrome-plated side, subscribe to the channel. I'm Dale. Keep the shiny side up, and I'll see you down the road.